What's going on, y'all? Peter Griffin here. So as we move through the 3.x patch cycle and we get newer characters, with these new characters we also get new battle mechanics. As with the release of Linnea, we have gotten the new mechanic Tomb Break, which I have been a big fan of personally. I've been enjoying using it so far. It's a pretty good mechanic if you ask me. And as with other characters, we've been getting updates to negative status effect as well. For example, with Spectrofrowser we got Zani and Phoebe. For Arrow Roche we got Cartithia and Shalcona, but for Shalcona you could also count it for Spectrofrowser as well because she does apply it with her ult. And for the most recent status effect that we have gotten is Havoc Bane through Chisa. And as we move through the 3.x patch cycles, we're obviously going to get more Tomb Break characters because that seems to be the main mechanic for this patch cycle. But what I want to focus on today are the negative status effects because they have actually updated a lot of the negative status effects, but I don't know if most people know this because we haven't gotten any new negative status effect type of character besides Chisa. But with the release of Chisa and how her kit revolves around negative status effects and the amplification of negative status effects as well, what I want to do today is go over all the updated versions of the elemental debuffs and discuss how they can work in future characters' kits for Wuthering Waves. So let's dive in. So the first debuff that we're going to be going over is Fusion Burst. And how the updated Fusion Burst is going to work is that some attacks will apply a stackable Fusion Burst effect to the target. When Fusion Burst is stacked to its max, all stacks will be removed to trigger an explosion, dealing fusion damage around the target. Fusion Burst effect stacks up to 10 times by default. The higher the stacks, the more damage dealt. So essentially what the new Fusion Burst is going to do is that when you stack it on a target up to 10 times, it'll trigger like a mini explosion DOT around the enemy, and it will also affect nearby enemies as well. So the updated Fusion Burst actually does look very good in my opinion because the amount of AoE damage that this could do is honestly pretty crazy if you ask me. Because imagine you stack Fusion Burst on one target, then onto another target, you'll be able to trigger multiple explosions on different enemies, and it's going to affect every single enemy around them at the same time is honestly pretty cool in my opinion. And the amount of AoE damage that could also come from Fusion Burst as well would also be great to see in modes like Whimpering Waste where there are a lot of enemies around you. So it could definitely help out in Whimpering Waste, and it could also help out on some floors on the TOA where there's multiple enemies. Not so much when there's one enemy, but if there's multiple enemies, Fusion Burst will be amazing. And with the new drip marketing for Amath, we know that she is a fusion character and she could actually revolve around Fusion Burst, and if she is going to revolve around Fusion Burst, that would be pretty cool to see. So overall, the new Fusion Burst actually does look good, and I honestly can't wait to see how it's going to play out. But one thing I am curious about is how much AoE damage it's going to be able to do to enemies, because it looks like it can actually do a lot if you know how to manage it properly. Next up we get Glacio Chafe, and how the new Glacio Chafe is going to work is that some attacks will apply a stackable Glacio Chafe effect to the target. When Glacio Chafe is inflicted, the target receives Glacio damage. Glacio Chafe stacks up to 10 times by default. The higher the stacks, the more damage dealt. Each stack of Glacio Chafe effect reduces the target's movement speed. When Glacio Chafe reaches max stacks, the target will be frozen and all stacks of Glacio Chafe will be removed. So Glacio Chafe is essentially going to revolve around doing damage to your target and also freezing them at the same time. And in my opinion, Glacio Chafe sounds pretty broken because not only are you going to be able to do damage to your target, you're going to be able to freeze them and just not make them move, which can be very helpful in bosses if you ask me. And with how the new Glacio Chafe works, it sounds very similar to Carlotta's Resin skill, where when you use her Resin skill, you're going to be able to do damage and freeze the enemy. Glacio Chafe is also going to work the same way, except you're going to have to stack it, that's really it. But either way, this new Glacio Chafe does seem to be pretty broken if you ask me. And the fact that other characters are going to be able to utilize a similar time step effect that Carlotta has is pretty wild if you ask me. So overall, Glacio Chafe does look like it's going to be pretty strong, and I honestly can't wait for characters to utilize this effect. And finally, we got Electro Flare. Now, Electro Flare, we actually do have a character in-game who already utilizes this effect, and that is Wuthering. But the only problem with Wuthering, she really doesn't have any teams as of right now. Like, I think it's kind of stupid that they added a character that utilizes Electro Flare but has nobody to synergize with. And I don't have a problem with her utilizing Electro Flare, I just have a problem with why they released her this early. Like, if they added somebody who uses Electro Flare later on and then they added Wuthering, that would have been much better. But as of right now, Wuthering really has no way of showing off Electro Flare because she doesn't really have a dedicated team. But anyway, let's move on to what Electro Flare does. Now, what the effects of Electro Flare are is that some Electro attacks will apply a stackable Electro Flare effect to the target. While Electro Flare lasts, it deals periodic electro damage to the target. The target loses half of the effect stacks with each instance of damage. Electro Flare stacks up to 10 times by default. The higher the stacks, the more damage dealt. At maximum stacks of Electro Flare, any new stack inflicted becomes stackable Electro Rage. Electro Rage increases the damage dealt by the next Electro Flare trigger. Electro Rage is removed once triggered. Electro Rage stacks up to 10 times by default. The higher the stacks, the more damage Electro Flare deals. So essentially with Electro Flare, you're going to want to build it up 10 times, so then after it's built up, it evolves into Electro Rage. And it looks like with Electro Rage, it's going to be the main source of damage from Electro Flare. And in my opinion, Electro Flare honestly looks the least impressive out of all of them. I could be wrong in that for when we do actually have a character besides Wuthering that is able to utilize it. It looks good for single target damage, so I will give it that, but I really just want to see how much damage it could actually do before I actually have a solid opinion on it. But as of right now, it looks fine. I'm not really too sold on it. But then again, I could be proved wrong for when a character does actually utilize it, so we'll see when that happens. And that's it for the updated elemental debuffs. And I know there is Havoc Bane, but I'm not going to really talk about Havoc Bane because I'm pretty sure everybody should know what Havoc Bane does at this point, considering we have Chisa who utilizes it. So that's why I'm not going to really talk about Havoc Bane, because at this point, I think everybody should know what it does. And finally, what I want to talk about is Chisa and how she's a big factor in all of this. And that is because Chisa's role in this game is to be the support for all the negative status effects. And that is due to her outro skill and her passive, where with her outro skill, she can actually buff the amount of stacks you can apply through negative status effects, which increases the amount of stacks you can actually apply of a Glacial Chafe, Fusion Burst, or Electro Rage. And when a Resonator does apply a negative status effect under Chisa's outro skill, they also get granted Dread of Bane, which reduces the defense of a target by 18%. And as we get more characters that utilize elemental debuffs, Chisa's value will also go up. And as much as I hate to admit this right now, Chisa's value isn't the highest right now. She really only works with two teams, the Zani and Phoebe team and the Cardathea and Chalcona team. But as we soon do get characters who utilize one of the 3 new elemental debuffs, Chisa's value is going to go up by a lot. And to the people who summoned for Chisa, even though a lot of people did skip her, we made the right call because going for Chisa now is definitely going to save a lot of Astrolite in the future, I'll tell you that. Because let's say Lucilla drops and she utilizes Electro Flare, Chisa is probably going to rerun with her. And for the people who did end up pulling Chisa, and if Lucilla does end up using Electro Flare, we made the right call investing in her early. Because I know there are a lot of people who have pulled Chisa and she's probably sitting on their account right now, not even leveled up or built because she doesn't have that many teams. But I'm telling you right now, if you pull Chisa, you made the right call. And if you skipped her, then that's GG's for you. So overall, the value of Chisa is going to skyrocket significantly once we get more elemental debuff characters, and I'm very glad for that. And I honestly can't wait to see how these elemental debuffs are going to play with set characters for when they do get released. The debuff that I want to see utilized first with any of the new 3.0 characters is Fusion Burst, because Fusion Burst actually does look like it's going to be very interesting to see. Like, imagine you're just fighting a wave of enemies, and as you stack up your Fusion Burst, you just see a chain reaction of explosions go off because of Fusion Burst. That's going to be very cool to see. Glacial Chafe also looks like it could be very interesting as well, with how you can freeze enemies and also deal damage to them. That looks pretty interesting. And Electro Flare does look like it's going to be fine. I just want to see the damage from it personally, because for single target damage, it looks like it's going to be fine, but considering the only thing that it's going to be able to do is just damage, I just want to see how much damage it's going to be able to do. But overall, these new elemental debuffs looks like they can introduce a new playstyle for characters in Wuthering Waves, which I'm very excited to see. And I can't wait to see how characters are going to be able to utilize them. But what elemental debuffs do you guys want to see be utilized first? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for watching the video. Make sure you like and subscribe and turn on that bell so you get notified for when I do upload a new video, and I'll catch you in the next one.